emotions. Where are they coming from? Oh boy, have you come to the right place. Let me explain to you how we have emotion. How does the brain process emotion? Together we have 6 base emotions: anger, sadness, fear, happiness, surprise, and disgust. The first emotion that we're going to talk about is fear. Fear is one of the most important emotions because it helps us respond appropriately to life-threatening situations. The parts of your brain that are stimulated as the brain is processing fear is the bilateral amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the left prefrontal cortex. Adrenaline and cortisol also play a role in fear because they're the neurotransmitters that send the messages from your limbic system throughout your brain. Now let's take a look at surprise. That one. Surprise activates the bilateral inferior gyrus and the bilateral hippocampus. Surprise or even a jump scare will give you a massive release of dopamine, and dopamine is another one of those neurotransmitters. Now let's talk about disgust.
Disgust is the feeling of being disturbed physically or mentally by something distasteful. Disgust begins with the insula, followed by the basal ganglia and frontal brain regions like the prefrontal and orbital frontal cortex. Oxytocin is the chemical that is sent through your brain in order for you to feel disgust.
Up next, let's talk about happiness. Happiness is an overall positive state of well-being. In order to feel happy, several areas of our limbic system are stimulated, like the right prefrontal cortex, the insula, the amygdala, and the pernicious. When these parts of your brain are stimulated, they release a massive amount of dopamine and serotonin. Even something as simple as smiling can release those feel-good chemicals. Now let's talk about anger.
Anger is a response to stress or threats in your environment. Anger starts with the amygdala stimulating the hippocampus, closely followed by sections in the prefrontal cortex. In turn, the neurotransmitter chemical known as catecholamine is released, causing you to experience a burst of energy that lasts up to several minutes.
Last but not least, let's talk about sadness. Sadness is an emotional state characterized by unhappiness and low mood. Sadness is caused by increased activity in the right optical lobe, the left insula, the left thalamus, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. Funnily enough, serotonin along with melatonin are the neurotransmitters that allow us to be sad. Something that I find really interesting is in mental illnesses like depression, we see an extreme increase in serotonin levels. While we're on the topic of depression, someone with this mental illness is going to see a decrease in GMV. GMV is grey matter volume. You see this decrease because the neurotransmitter cortisol is impeding the growth of your brain cells. The more severe your depression is, the higher decrease in GMV you're going to see. Long story short, that is how our brain processes all our different emotions.